Figured I'd jump on here. Had a little bit of time. Making some miles here today. You guys help me out. Just if you guys could subscribe and share the channel around, follow me on other social media. Really, I'm just mostly on YouTube. That's where I spend most of my time. So if you guys subscribe to the channel, check out my other videos, hit the like button, do all the things. Definitely helps me out. So, anyways, I'm going to talk about my latest experiences here. Um, so I'm actually over in make my way back east here, but I spent the day in Arizona yesterday, mostly around Phoenix area there. Uh, I came out to look at some vehicles. I need another project vehicle, and my son needs a vehicle, so I started looking at. I just thought if I could fit another one on my trailer, I would pick one up for myself while I was there. It was really just there for my son. So we had messaged probably 10 people before I even left, and most of them like responded right away, whatever. Well, then kind of had some tentatively kind of planned out or whatever there. So start going down the list, and people start not responding, not responding, not responding. And these aren't even people we're lowballing things on. We haven't even got to the point of really negotiating yet. We're just kind of like trying to work on some, details, basically like, okay, what does this thing need? Is there any problems with it? Does it leak oil? Is it smoke? Is there a clean title for it? Do you have a paper title in hand? So first things first, I guess Arizona apparently is electronics title state now. So after 2020, you have to apply for a paper title if you want one. Apparently, a lot of people don't do that. I didn't even know that was a thing until I got here. I've bought vehicles from here before, but I've always got a paper title because they must have been registered pre 2020 or whatever it was. So that kind of right off the bat there kind of turned into issue. So it was like all day long I was trying to get a hold of people, and so was my son. It didn't work out. Nobody was just responding back and stuff. So I was getting frustrated. I'm like, all right, well, I guess there's no point in hanging around here if I can't. So I got there was one guy that had a Mini Cooper. So supposed to be a supercharged Mini Cooper. I asked them a bunch of details on it. It was a really weird profile. Like actually, I thought it was a lady. So there was a lady in the picture, very minimal profile information. But I thought, well, I'm here anyways, whatever. I might as well just see if I can take a look at it. So they're like, yeah, you can come look at it, meet me at this address. So this is, I assumed it was a house. So I get there, and it's like this gigantic, like townhouse complex. And he pulls in, starts, here, let me look at the vehicle, and I'm looking at it, and it's got a bunch of problems. It's got leaks and some engine lights on and all this stuff. But as he shows up, it's a guy. Well, there's no guy in the profile picture. Completely different name, of course, because it's not a guy. So, or it's not a girl that I originally thought. So kind of waiting to see what was going on there, and I'm like, okay, I'm just kind of thinking it out here, and so I'm asking a bunch of questions. And you can always find out when people are lying if you ask enough questions. So I just kind of keep asking more and more questions, because eventually people talk themselves into a corner if you keep track of what they've said. So we take it for a drive and whatever, and I finally like kind of was negotiating on the price a little bit there, and then I'm like, just something just definitely didn't feel right, and it was kind of just there was a lot of shadiness feeling. So I was already pretty much committed that I wasn't going to buy this thing, because I could kind of tell that something was going on already. But I thought, well, since this guy's wasting my time, I'm going to waste his time, since I got nothing else to do. So I mean, I screwed around for probably the better part of hour and a half there, probably just pretty much just like, hey man, you want to waste my time, I'm going to waste your time. So I don't know exactly what ended up being, if the car was stolen or what the deal was. But when it finally came down to it, when I asked them at the end there, I was like, okay, I'll give you $1,800 for this thing if it's got a title, which I knew it didn't. I knew an hour and a half before it didn't, but I thought, well, let's just see what kind of game he plays here. So he pulls out the title, and it's just basically a piece of paper that he printed online and wrote the details of the car on it. I said, well, where's the title? I don't have one. And then he had talked his way around it enough that I was like, okay, well, how long did you own the car for? And he's like, oh, 10 years. I'm like, oh, you don't have a title? Well, you'd have a title if you had bought this thing 10 years ago. And so I said, you know what, man, I'm gonna take a picture of this. I'm gonna check back in the morning. I'm gonna make some calls. I'll basically call around to get some legal advice on this or whatever, and I'll call you back in the morning if this is actually legit, which I get. I knew it wasn't. So the second he pulled out of there, he blocked me right away. So like I said, I would normally wouldn't do that, but that was super frustrating. So again, he just a scam. Then even looking at what he put on there, it was a totally different name than when I actually went back to look at the marketplace ad there. It ended up being that it was like total like the name that they put on there. They changed it, and then it was just a whole thing. And then he put his address as being in like Oceanside, California, with a completely different name. So like, I mean, it was all red flags. So it was just pretty obvious, right? It's too bad because it was actually kind of a cool little car. There was a Mini Cooper Turbo. Actually, it definitely needed a bunch of work, but for $1,800, I would have taken a flyer on it. But just so, and so, like I said, message just piles and piles of people yesterday trying to look at vehicles. I was looking stuff for my son, newer cars, older cars. There's half the people that respond can't speak English. The other half of the people, they'll respond once or not even respond at all, and they'll just read it and then not respond. So you can't get any details out of them. You can't get a phone number, an address, anything to even like look at these cars to like get there in person to check it out. So it's just like, a whole pile of things. Like you go onto Craigslist these days, same thing. It's just like all freaking people just posting up, not all, but you have to sift through 90% of the garbage to get to something that's actually a real ad. And like on Marketplace or any of these, if they really want to, but for whatever reason, it's like want it to be a problem. And there's starting to be a ton of fake ads out there now. Like it's making it really, really difficult to actually find a vehicle or find anything, really, anything you want. I mean, it's like there's scams for all sorts of stuff now. It's like you go to buy anything, my wife's been looking for like coffee machines and stuff like that, and half of those things are scams out there. It's like you're trying to scam for $100 or $200 item or whatever. Like I just don't get it. There's a lot of different scams where people are like, say, renting a vehicle and trying to sell it, or renting a piece of equipment and trying to sell it, or like all this kind of stuff. What's up, Jason? Oh yeah, interesting. Well, I look like I look, man. So that was frustrating. So I mean, I'm 20 hours from home and basically coming home empty-handed. So it's starting to be like a lot of these states are doing electronic title. So that's going to make it a little bit tricky to try to find. Like actually, Oklahoma just switched to that, and so that's kind of making it a bit of a pain to if you want to buy a vehicle or whatever. I know what they're trying to do is they're trying to eliminate people that are buying and reselling them or whatever, but it's making it a gigantic hassle for if you're wanting to sell it out of state, or if you're wanting to, like things like that or whatever. Like I know a lot of people are trying to do open title things, and I'm not saying anything about that one way or the other, but it's like, it's just making it a huge hassle. What's up, Allison? So yeah, so basically coming home empty-handed there. Like I said, I bet you we messaged probably 25 vehicles yesterday, and there was nothing. So I started looking more east here. I'm actually on my way to go look at something for my channel. It is it's older classic car anyway. I guess if it pans out, I'll have it on my channel. So I don't want to give too much of it away, but there's it's hard to find something again with a real title, actual paper title in hand. And I don't know if you're a bigger person, like I saw David Freiberger post yesterday. If you're a bigger person and you have a little more, I guess, ability to get out there and put a post out and say, hey, like, can you guys find me a vehicle for X amount of dollars in this area, which is what he tends to do. Usually that kind of stuff pans out for him. So yeah. that's kind of what's going on. But I don't know. It just seems like everybody I talk to these days, it's just like they you know, don't know where to go for finding deals anymore, or like how to, or even just like buying something. Like I said, you can't even buy it. You can't even buy a vehicle because people don't even want to answer. So super annoying. But it is what it is, I guess. When you're kind of like, it is what it is when you're trying to, I guess, buy used cars or trucks or anything online. I guess it's just kind of what it is. You just gotta kind of sift through the stuff. But like I said, Phoenix area has gotten really bad for it. I would say at least probably minimum 50% of the ads are all basically Mexicans, like without English, which I mean, how are you supposed to make a deal with somebody that can't speak English? So that's kind of a problem. And I don't even know, like most of those people, you can tell they're just flipping cars because you look at their profile and the ones that do actually maybe have real vehicles for sale, they've got 10 vehicles for sale at a time or whatever. They're obviously just flipping them. So they would either not have a real title or maybe an open title, which whatever. I mean, that's, a lot of people buy vehicles with open titles. And it is what it is. It's whatever you're comfortable with, but at least you'd be getting some sort of paper that actually shows you that that's going to be your vehicle. Like, that last square body, or not the last one, but the one I painted there. I bought that thing from California, and it had an actual pink slip title yet. So it was like an old original title, which was kind of good because now that made it really easy to like move on to, Oklahoma or whatever. So if you get something with these electronic titles and you're out of state, it's basically like a title transfer paper is what they kind of do these days. And it just kind of like makes it a hassle because you have to verify to make sure that it's all good. And this guy was trying to tell me that it was stamped by a notary, but there was no notary stamp on it. It was a stamp of a company that gave them the piece of paper, not an actual notary stamp. Like if you know what a notary stamp is, it was an actual stamp that goes with that notary. Well, it wasn't. So again, I knew all the signs there were going to be whatever. It was going to be uh, basically. Again, I don't know what the guy was trying to do. If he was trying to sell a used car that was stolen, or somebody else's, or an ex's, maybe like maybe that was the girl in the picture. I don't really know exactly, but it wasn't his name. It wasn't his name on the whatever little bill of sale thing he was trying to write me there and all that stuff. So I, it- like I said, just trying to figure out what the deal was there and stuff. But like I said, it was. I mean, so that was a whole day of looking at vehicles, trying to figure out a whole day of messaging people to look at one vehicle that ended up basically being some sort of scam one way or the other there. So that's kind of what it seems like these days. Like I said, some of these other classified sites and stuff, there's a few that have popped up now that are whatever. Honestly, it seems like the best places to like get vehicles from is like bring a trailer or something like that. At least you're getting what you're getting and they're covered. I don't know, maybe there's some other places these days I haven't really thought too much about. And it's been a while, but there's some old school sites I guess around that might still exist, but that's definitely getting super tricky to find any kind of vehicles, like I said, with an actual real title and not just some scam or whatever. So that's why every time I have something for sale, it has a real title. It's obviously pretty easy to sell because of that. I will say too, in the Midwest, it seems like it's that there's a lot less problems. So in my opinion, in the Midwest, the vehicles are a lot more worn out. But it seems like the in the seems like in the Midwest that when you go to get a vehicle, it actually has a title or people actually respond or whatever. I've had luck in the East too. I bought vehicles from Florida, like Merrill came from Florida. You guys saw us drive back there. North Carolina, that last my main daily truck there. That thing came from North Carolina. Those people are really good to deal with. So it's I don't know, just seems like there's some better states for sure about it, but it's definitely like I prefer to buy vehicles if I could, maybe like out of like Arizona or New Mexico or something like that, or even southern Texas, or maybe like mid Texas probably. But most of those, like I said, just are either scams or something like, or you can't have a conversation because they don't speak English or whatever the deal is. But it's just kind of one of those things. So yeah. So that's what I was kind of dealing with here. So I'm on my way to look at another one. I probably won't get there until I got a lot of drive here yet. I'll probably won't get there till late this afternoon, and we'll see how that one pans out. But this one looks like it's at a small dealer, maybe it's just a owner that has it or something like that. I actually called the guy this morning and talked to him, so I think that'll be all right there. Hopefully, I'm not sure the condition and stuff. I didn't really ask questions. I just told him I have cash in hand and I want to come look at it. So uh, head over and check that out, and something completely different that won't normally be on my channel. But like I said, it just seems like all the ones lately. I have no problem selling stuff. Every time I go to sell something, it's like super easy to sell something because I always have the title and I always have, there's no games. I answer all the questions. If somebody asks me 50 questions before they come look at it, totally fine. I'll take more pictures and videos and all that stuff. But you come over here, it's like you maybe get one response and then they just ghost you pretty much. Even without trying to lowball or anything like that, and just trying to have a conversation. Because some of them are already fairly priced and don't even really need to work on the prices. Just want to actually come and look at it and make sure they have a title and things like that. I don't want to drive over there and start trying to make a deal on it and they don't have an actual real title. But let's see what we got going on here. What's everybody else up to today? It's hard to see. Wow. Nobody's nobody's got anything exciting happening this Sunday by the looks of it here. So you guys got any vehicles for sale or anything? You have actual titles, it's gotta be. I'd be interested in a third gen Camaro. Right now, you got a V8 third gen Camaro, I'd be looking for something like that. Um, Mostly just because I have the parts laying around for it. I probably shouldn't do any more square bodies for a while because I think my square body content is getting overdone. So mix that up a little bit there. Um, I don't know. I'd like something. If anybody's got Tri-5 Chevys around and that are kind of basket cases, preferably something that's already had a V8 put in it or has one that's maybe seized or something like that. Um, I'd be interested in that. 56s seem like they're the cheapest ones to get because they're the least desirable. I think, but I don't know, people don't like the body style as much as like the 55s and 57s. So if you have something like that, a Bel Air or 210 or something along those lines there, I'd be interested in something like that if it's in some sort of savable condition. Um, yeah, but like I said, I'm on unclassified places every day looking constantly and stuff, and it's just become such a frustration of trying to actually buy something and where you can actually buy it, not just message somebody and then they don't respond. So there's just so many people out there trying to rip you off these days or whatever. And a lot of times it's just they want like a deposit or whatever and things like that. And I never ask for that stuff. When I sell things, you're coming to buy something from me and you give me a word, then I trust you. You say, okay, bring money when you get here, basically, and I'll hold it for you. It's just how I do business. But so yeah, I need to find some more projects. I sold a whole bunch of my other ones there. I haven't really made too much shop progress here because my gas line is dug up still and have a bunch of trench open that needs to be filled, and it was too wet to fill it last week because I couldn't get a fill from the guy to backfill it there. So that'll be this week. But after that, get back on that ordeal there. So hopefully I can find some more projects that aren't giant projects, but the one biggest thing with the older cars is it's tight. It's a tight fit in my garage. Like most of them are very, very long in length, and it turns into like kind of an ordeal when you get it in my garage and there's basically no room to walk around it. Like that short bed square body that I just got in there, that thing actually fits in my garage, which is nice, and I have room to work on it. But might end up sharing it to that one. You have somebody actually I guess wants to see it. We'll see how the video does after a week or two here. But so looking to see. Let's see what I got here. Yeah. Checking what we got for people in here today. So I'm gonna be. I was thinking about doing a giveaway. I've got some stuff. I guess maybe I'll make a separate video about that. But thinking about doing a giveaway on my channel here. Maybe get up to a couple thousand subs or something like that, and do a giveaway after that. I'm not sure, and maybe a Christmas giveaway. I'm not sure yet, but I got some brand new stuff that I probably don't really need. I might try to give away, but yeah. In the meantime, I need some project vehicles. So if you guys got any project vehicles or hiding or anything like that, and you have an actual real title for it, put me up because I'm always looking. So like I said, I prefer complete vehicles if you have them. The reason mostly is because I just like to not have to buy all the extra little parts. So, just all those little things nickel and dime you to death if you get them. So that's why I was looking at that kind of stuff. But like I said, I was just going to buy that Mini Cooper because I thought I could fit a second car on the trailer with the Mini Cooper, and it was kind of an interesting car. Those are fun little rippers. They're absolutely horrible quality. 100,000 miles and up is kind of when they start really seeming to have the problem. They've got all sorts of like leaking issues and the issues with the pads leaking and turbo leaks on the turbo ones and all that kind of stuff. But so I am definitely frustrated with trying to buy anything online these days. It's super freaking obnoxious when you're trying to make a deal on something and people don't even have the courtesy to respond. So yeah, anyways, that's kind of what's going on. If you guys are around, if you want to see what's up today here, just passing the old border check station, I guess it is here. We are in, I don't know, New Mexico, anyways. Making some miles there. Let's see if I can. Oh, that's what the deal is there, anyways. So sorry, my camera must be dirty or something like that. Can get it to focus there. So I do see deals once in a while in New Mexico. Like there's some definitely kicking around and stuff, and it just blows my mind how many people lose titles for things. I just don't understand. I mean, the amount of vehicles that you see for sale for older cars and stuff like that don't have a title is honestly just mind-boggling to me. Like the number one thing that you need to make sure you know where it is the title. How do you lose the title? Like throw it in a file box or something like that. So that's also another thing that's like made it really difficult to buy them. I would like to at some point, and when I have a little bit of shop space and stuff, and I'm not as rushed to just work on one vehicle at a time, I'd like to buy a vehicle with no title and try going through some of those title companies to see if I could possibly get a title and it's the amount of work that it is and things like that. Because there's definitely a lot of vehicles out there that I'm kind of like, I would buy it, but I wouldn't buy it because it doesn't have a title. And so, you know, it makes it a better deal to buy it. It kills the value as far as somebody selling it because most people don't want to buy it without a title. So it's just kind of one of those things. But I actually have a lead on. I have a lead. Actually, I have I guess a contact, I should say, for someone that actually has a pile of classic cars, but none of them have titles. There was actually what was it, a 72, I think, Challenger out there. I could have bought for like a few $100, but same thing there. What car should I use in my next edit? Are you the guy that's doing all the little car edits on Instagram that I follow? Pretty sure I don't know if I follow you, but I see your videos all the time where you basically go up to people at gas stations and then edit their videos. That looks like the same name as that guy. I don't know. I like old cars, those plastics and stuff like that. I gotcha. I don't know. Like I said, I'm mostly interested, not 100% because there's some cooler vehicles in the 1980 and up, but I am mostly prefer. I'll do anything because I think there's a lot of cool vehicles out there, like but primarily 1980 and older. I do like third gen Camaros, Firebirds, F bodies. I was just looking at a Turbo Trans Am, same problem. I told them I have cash in hand. As soon as they posted it, I said I'll actually give you $1,000 more than you're asking. I'll come and get it. And they were like, "Oh, I'm gonna take my kids to this place and this and that, and no, I don't know where this part is, and blah 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 blah." And it's like, well, let me know when you're ready. I have cash in hand. I mean, I'm only 4 hours from your house. I'll rip over there and grab it. And I mean, this is a week later now, and they still haven't sold it. And they've played the game with me, just not answering questions, or else when they do answer it, they're not really giving me any actual information or whatever. Um, I like, yeah. There's a couple newer ones. There's some, yeah, like once you get in the 90s, I like the 454 SS trucks there. I like the VR1 Corvettes, a couple things like that, but mostly, like I said, older, like 1980 and older kind of a thing. So that's the kind of stuff I'm always looking for. So you just get random clips. Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I kind of tried doing that for a little while. I was just doing little snippets of that kind of stuff, but yeah, I see a lot of people that do that now. It's pretty cool. Just do it for other people or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I like second gen Camaros, first gen Camaros. I like a lot of the Pontiac cars, pretty much anything 1960 and newer Pontiacs. Um, I actually like the older Chevy Del Reys, the 5.5 Chevys, any of the 50s trucks, pretty much. I mean, I'm much interested in any of that. I actually like some of the 40s vehicles even, but I don't. I mean, I just haven't worked on that stuff in you know 40 years. No, I'm just kidding. Not 40 years, but barely even that old. But I mean, like, I probably worked on that stuff more regularly when I was like early 20s. So that's, I'm not as sharp on it as I used to be. Friend of mine is the Travis B on YouTube here. He does like mostly really old cars like that. And man, they're just so good at it. They're so quick. They know everything about it. They know how to fix all the problems with buy seat vehicles and like they can easily fix the brakes. They know all the drum brake stuff and all the points ignition stuff and like sticking valves and I mean just seized up engines, all that stuff. They know how to deal with it. So I just don't know without I guess I could probably do it, but it would just take me a lot longer. So I don't have the space to be doing gigantic projects. That's why I've been trying to get more like running and driving things where I can just do minimal work to them because again, people don't want to watch like a 2,000 hour paint and body video or whatever on some, like square body or something like that or whatever, or you can't make 50 videos on a square body painting it to make it pristine or whatever, like is what I'm kind of saying. People get bored. The attention span is not there. So I'm always rotating my vehicles out or whatever. But like I said, there's lots of vehicles out there for sale. It's just to actually buy them because of all the problems with the whole classified situation right now. Like, the Canada Kijiji used to be the big one, the big go-to for all the good deals and stuff now, and that's kind of like fallen to the wayside. It's actually gotten really difficult to find vehicles in Canada that are any kind of sensible price and in any kind of decent condition. I was up there a few months ago, and I actually did see a couple deals, like a square body for like $1,400. Let's show a friend of mine, um, and things like that. If I was there, I would have bought something like that because it was as good of a deal as you would get in the US and it was actually fairly rust free. So that was kind of a one off thing there. But most of the vehicles that used to be even just parked in people's yards and things like that, they kind of got all beaten up either for people throwing them on classifieds for $5,000 for a rusted out freaking beater truck or whatever, like just not, it's funny that you would think in Canada that, well, I should specify. Western Canada isn't really bad for rust, like as it is in like the Midwest, for example, or not the Midwest, like the Rust Belt, I should say. So if you were to get a vehicle in like Ontario, Quebec, something like that, they just pour the salt through the roads there. And I think it's a lot more humid in the east, whereas like Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia, they don't get as beat up over there. Even though they do put salt and things on the road, it just doesn't like. It's like they were off the road, a lot of them too, before they really did start putting salt on the roads, because salting of the roads up there is actually a fairly new thing that hasn't been, it's not like that's been happening since the 50s or something like that. So that's a whole nother thing in itself there or whatever. But it's like I said, it's just, you would think, or people just assume, I guess, that if you were to get a vehicle of like Iowa or something like that, where most of the time, you know, uh, vehicle from the 70s, there's nothing left of it, that you would have the same problem in Canada. And really, it's more of like a Eastern Canada thing than it is like Western Canada. They do get rusty, don't get me wrong. A lot of times the rust comes from driving down back roads, because like unlike the US, they don't have the same, like, all the roads in the US here, for the most part, even the back roads are paved or oiled at least. And in Canada, dirt roads are literally dirt roads there, and the bulk of the roads are actually gravel, at least in the prairies. So a lot of it comes from going down back roads, feeding off the paint and stuff like that, and then not getting washed good enough because it's always dirty no matter what you do and things like that. So that's what you guys comment to. So that's, yeah, it's it's just not there's, like I said, it's easier to buy a vehicle. Maybe, if I went to Iowa, for example, I could buy a vehicle real easy and get all the paperwork and title and stuff like that. But then the vehicles, obviously, I'm not saying all of them, because sometimes there is some that are still decent or whatever. But for the most part, it turns into a problem, like their rust bucks or whatever. That very first square body, was kind of a perfect example of that. So that's kind of, there was nothing left. I showed a guy some pictures of it yesterday. He couldn't believe it, but I mean, past, um, rockers, fenders, the bed, the frame was paper thin, like, uh, everything, right? It was everything. So doors, um, that's kind of stuff you when you buy those. And don't get me wrong, I still think they're worth saving. Like if I lived in Iowa still, I would totally buy those vehicles and try to save them. It's just up there, if you were to buy those vehicles, it's I will say there's actually a lot more access to parts up there. Like when I was looking for square body parts, for example, it was actually easier to find them up there. I think, you know, because people park so many of them out. So there's actually some parts are in really good shape and others are not necessarily. But it, so you kind of, like, I was looking for bumpers when I lived there. I mean, I could have bought 100 of them, right? Up when I was living in Oklahoma, to find bumpers was like pulling teeth or whatever. So there's just kind of depending what the thing is there. Just, I guess, like I said, more get parted out up there. Or maybe people bring parts up there more because and things like that. So if you guys know of any deals or anything, hit me up or send me a send me a private message on wherever. I should set up an email for this. I think I changed my name after I set up my initial email on this channel. So, but that's what I probably should do, is be putting out things on here to try to find some deals. They always probably have the best luck, is people that watch like classic car videos are the ones that are usually going to have things that are probably actually legit and real, real actual car people that aren't kind of like, you know, scammers. So, anyways, guys, well, that was my experience yesterday. We'll see how the one turns out here today, but help me out with the channel.